Welcome back, writers. Well, every time I seem to come to you from a different spot in my house. And today I'd like to welcome you upstairs to my room. And the reason I'm up here today is because Franny has a piano lesson on FaceTime right now with her teacher. So she's down there and it's a little loud. So hope you don't mind. I'm up here today. But I really want to talk to you about something important. And I'm excited because it doesn't matter where I am, I can always talk about writing. So, as you might have noticed, we've been doing a lot of journaling lately. And one of the biggest reasons why I feel like it's so important to journal right now is because, like we talked about, this is like a slice of life, and this is a moment in time that later we're going to look back on and say, holy smokes, that was such an important time because it challenged us. And there were some really good things that came out of it, some fears, some worries, but also some really wonderful moments. So today I want to talk to you about that a little bit. Now, you may have noticed that you've been doing some reviews, you've been doing some how-tos, you've been just simply recording the things that you're doing throughout your day. And so I'm going to ask you something. I'm going to ask a show of hands. Now, I know I can't really see you, but you know I'm kind of magic. So just be aware that I'm secretly able to tell with my special writer's hat what you're doing at home. How many of you have moved over to a hard copy of your journal yet? And what that means is like something that you actually write on. I have my slice of life journal that I've been writing in, a piece of paper. Maybe you've just been doodling on scratch paper or a pad of paper that belongs to your parents. How many of you have been moving over from that online journal to something that you can hold in your hands? Anybody? All right, I think I see some hands. All right, okay, well, guess what? If you haven't yet, that's okay. But starting today, I would like for you to start. I'm going to show you a little bit about why I want you to do that. So let me go back to a story I want to tell you. It's a quick story, but yesterday, Jonathan and I were talking. We were on a hike, and we were outside and we were talking. And he said, Mom, I wish I could go back and talk to myself 2 months ago. And I said, really? I said, okay, that's kind of interesting. Kind of thought I knew where he was going with that. And he said, if I could go back, I would tell myself to buy lots more Legos. And I said, okay. And I said, I would probably tell myself to buy more puzzles. And he said, Mom, and I would also tell you that you need to start buying more hand sanitizer because it's about to be really expensive. And so we laughed and we talked about all the things that we would do if we could go back. And we also talked about how that's kind of impossible, right? We can't really go back in time. I mean, I'm magic, but not that magic. So that got me thinking. And it got me thinking about your journal. And it got me realizing that we can't go back in time and sort of warn ourselves, but we can go ahead and talk to ourselves in the future to let ourselves know what it was like for us right now. And the way we do that is we write to our future self. We ask ourselves, what do you want your future self to know? What do you want your future self to know? Now, I'm thinking that if you're writing to your future self, you're not going to warn your future self about anything like go buy this, go buy that. You're probably going to want to write to your future self about what's living in your heart and your mind right now. Imagine yourself as a parent or a college student or maybe a grandparent when you're a lot older, looking back on what it was like for you right now. I wonder what you'd write about. You might want your future self to know how good you were at Pokemon or how many books you read. But I think maybe some more of those important things that you might really want that future self to know was what's living right here. What is this? That's right. That's your heart. It's living in your heart and living in your mind. So some things that I think are really important for us to know about ourselves is I'm thinking one thing that might really show my future self about me. And I'm picturing right now my friend Luke D. And I'm also picturing my friend Fred. And I'm also picturing my friend Brody and my friend Ellery and Ashley and all of my friends and Avery who love to draw. Drawings. How many of you have been making drawings lately? You have? Okay, cool. What about, this makes me think of one that I got from my friend Maddie. I also got one from my friend Ayana. photos and letters. I put these kind of together because these are things that might come in the mail to us, or maybe things that we take when we're outside. I received a couple of photos in the mail from a cousin of mine who had a memory that she just wanted to share with me. And so she printed it off and mailed it to me. And it made my day. And it made me feel like I was with her. And I've been receiving letters from friends too, from you and also from my own friends and family. But those things are important, and those are hard copies of things that I'm trying to keep track of right now. And they really will let my future self know what I was like at this time. Also, believe it or not, one of the reasons I love for you to be writing by hand is because of this. Handwriting. Do you know that handwriting is something that really speaks about you? When you're older, you can look back. Believe it or not, you're going to look back and go, oh, look at how I put little hearts on my eyes. When I dot my eyes, I put hearts. Look at how I was so neat, or look at how I wasn't so neat and how I've grown. All of these things are going to be talking to your future self about what you were like right now. And the last thing I want to write is the word voice. Voice. Now, we know as writers that the words on the page don't actually speak to us right out loud, right? Like a speaker. No, but they do come through in the way that we write. So if we are showing with all of those really good sensory details and using all of that good figurative language, then we are going to be able to speak to our future self. And writers, what I really want you to know is that we always have an audience in our writing, but this audience is kind of special. And do you know why? Because it's just for you. Now, along the way, I know you love sharing your thoughts with me and you love sharing your writing with me, but I want you to know that right now, this writing you're doing for you, for your future self, is all about you and your heart and your mind. So let me show you a couple of ways that you can do that. Let me share this screen with you. I'm going to show you an example. If you look here, we have a chart, a handy dandy chart. You know I always give you a chart, so you will find this on today's slide that will reference you back to some ideas of ways to talk about your future self, to speak to your future self. So let's look here. One thing you might include in your journal would be how old you are. Mrs. Richards is not going to share that information about herself right now, but that's okay. I think you get the idea. Things you like to do, favorites. Now down below here, we talk about some of those things. Now you've seen this chart before. Excuse me. You've seen this chart before, but today I thought it would be really helpful to share it with you as sort of a reminder of what types of things you might want to speak to your future self about. So over here, and you'll notice also it does say things like things you dislike, your family. I would put on dislike, by the way, I would put, you ready for this? Brie cheese. I don't know why. It's like the only food in the world that I don't like. And I'm pretty sure my future self will still agree with me. Just had to put that in there. Your family, what's your family like? And your hopes and dreams. If you look over here, I've included some things. Now, right now, I've been really enjoying being outside and riding my bike and going for walks. I've also been enjoying doing a lot of writing. And down here, this is a picture of a pretend mom and child. I've been doing a lot of cooking and baking, mainly with Franny, like you saw on the cake. But this is just something that I want my future self to know that I really was able to enjoy during this time. And down here is a picture of a family. And the reason I chose this picture is not because it looks like my family, because it really doesn't. It's missing a few people, but it has a picture of grandparents in there. And my family and I have been spending a lot of time taking care of my parents, going over and bringing them groceries and visiting them from their front yard and waving through windows. And it's been really kind of challenging, but it's been very special too. And so I want to make sure that I write to my future self about what that was like. And over here, there's a picture of a girl reading, or a woman reading, a lady reading. That would be me. I've been doing a lot more reading through this time. So again, this is fun for you to think about and read about as you're reading along with me. You're probably thinking, what would I include in mine? I want you to know that, again, like I said before, this is for you. So all of these things that I'm doing that you see right here, those are very special, but it's for me to write to my future self about. So One more thing I want to show you before I let you go today, because your head's probably spinning with lots of ideas, is I want you, when you're writing to your future self, to think about all those things. Use that chart. And as you go through, you can use your journal. I want you to move to that hard copy. You can make one. It doesn't matter what it looks like. But I want you to start recording all of those things. And if you notice right here, I have photos and letters, drawings. You can either tuck those right inside of your journal, or I have something I want to show you. Now, you don't have to make one of these, but I decided last night, Franny helped me, to make one of these because I'm finding that my journal is getting so overloaded with photos and drawings. And I've been like even writing notes of funny things that the kids say while we're playing board games. And so I'm taking random piece of paper with all kinds of quotes from my kids on it. And instead of tucking it in my journal, I made a time capsule. Have you ever heard of a time capsule before? Do you know what that is? That's sort of like a collection of things from one point in time in your life. Now, this is all going to be over in hopefully weeks, but I'm going to look back and want to remember. So I've got my journal, and I'm keeping my journal, but I'm also keeping, I took an old box. It actually was a box of LaCroix. You can kind of see it's still showing. And I put my slice of life journal, and I'm taking this piece of paper that has random quotes, funny things the kids have said during board games and when we've been cooking together. And I'm going to tuck it right in there. I even have a card that one of you sent me, and that's in there already. And a photo that I took of Franny with the cake, that's in there too. It's all in there. So you may go ahead and start making one of those. I'm not going to be coming by your house and checking to see if you did it, but it's my invitation to you today. As you continue to journal, you don't have to be limited to just one way, but it is important that you keep recording those thoughts as you go along. Writers, I want you to remember that this point in time is not going to last. It might be frustrating and it might feel like you're stuck and there's so many things you wish you could do, but there's so many really important things that I want you to be able to share with your future self about the way that you made lemonade out of lemons. So off you go today, continue that writing, think about all the ways you can record where you are in time. What do you want your future self to know about what was going on in your heart and mind during this time? What do you want yourself to know? What's the most important? And as those things start to rise to the top in your brain, start writing them down. You have my permission to be as creative as you want, but writers, by all means, no matter what? Keep writing.